Alright, so welcome back to another review. This time we're not going to be looking at audio equipment, we're going to be looking at the Logitech G703 Lightspeed wireless mouse. Now this right here is my latest acquisition from the Black Friday sales. Yes, I know it took me a while to make this video, but here it is. So for those of you who don't know, the Logitech G403 was the first ever serious gaming mouse I ever bought myself. As you can see, I've put this thing through its paces and it's atrocious now, but I keep it as a backup just in case I do need an extra mouse, even though the scroll wheel is broken. So this mouse will be featured in the review every now and then, but this is primarily about its wireless counterpart, the G703. So let's get into it. Now, as far as the contents are concerned, you get the mouse itself, a 6-foot USB-A to micro USB cable, this micro USB to USB-A adapter, and the mouse's USB-A receiver. An additional 10-gram weight that you can go ahead and insert into the mouse to add additional weight, a blue Logitech logo sticker, which I seem to have misplaced, and the instruction booklets for how to. You know how to? No, you don't know? Simply follow these instructions and you're good to go. Now let's go ahead and jump into the build quality here. The entirety of the body is made out of plastic. The primary and secondary click buttons as well as the top piece that touches your palm are made out of a hard matte plastic that is smooth to the touch. The sides of the mouse are made out of a rubber/plastic composite that feels grippy and comfortable. However, I must mention that over time this material does start to wear out and capture a lot of finger grease. So just for the sake of comparison, here is the G703 right beside my first mouse, the G403 Prodigy. The scroll wheel broke on it, so I was forced to replace it with my now daily driver, the Cooler Master MM711. Anyways, you can clearly see that I put this thing through its paces. Even though I can still grip it and use it in game, it does feel a little nasty and atrocious to the touch. Just something to keep in mind. Now, the cable extension is braided and relatively smooth. It does retain its shape a bit, but you should not experience any issues if you utilize a bungee or some other type of method to allow for slack. The included cable serves multiple purposes. If you need to charge the mouse, simply connect it with the cable, turn on the power switch, and it can be used as a wired gaming mouse as it charges. If your PC is at a distance from where you'll be gaming, you can use the cable as an extender to help the receiver sit closer to the mouse, thereby reducing latency. Other than the standard mouse features, it also offers a DPI change button as well as 2 side buttons. So let's go ahead and perform a quick sound test, and mind you, don't mind the construction crew outside. I live in an evolving area, so there's always a construction crew whenever I need to record. Just my luck. Anyways, here's the sound test. As I hope you probably heard, thanks to the construction crew, the buttons feel very easy to click, but they do have a somewhat spongy feel to them. If this is your only mouse, I really can't imagine you'd have an issue with that though. It's only until you compare it to the competition out there that you realize this flaw. As far as pre-travel is concerned, there's not a lot of it. However, there is more post-travel than pre-travel. I do believe this may be one of the factors that create that spongy sort of feeling. The primary buttons do wiggle around a bit, but I really wouldn't worry about it. Now, the scroll wheel doesn't feel the most textured when spinning it, especially when scrolling a bit on the faster side. Clicking down on the wheel definitely feels relatively solid and simple enough, considering the wheel doesn't slip when trying to actuate it. Now, the side buttons are very large and protrude from the mouse quite a bit. That's actually one of the biggest reasons why I purchased the G403 in the first place. The DPI buttons and side buttons don't really have the most satisfying clicks, but if the G403 is any proof of the G703's durability, I wouldn't worry about these particular buttons too much. Now, as far as customization is concerned, in order to adjust this mouse's settings, you must download the Logitech G Hub application. From there, you can adjust a number of features such as lighting options, commands, macros, sensitivity, and pull rate. It also lets you know how much battery life your mouse has left. So the G703 has two different areas with RGB, a thin line on the scroll wheel, and the Logitech logo on the top rear of the mouse's hump. Each zone can be set to a fixed color, cycle, breathing, screen sampler, which allows you to set the color to whatever color is on a particular area on screen, audio visualizer, which makes the lighting zones pulse to the rhythm of whatever track/video you're playing, or simply just turned off. Now the G703 allows for up to 5 different DPI sensitivity speeds to toggle between. I personally toggle between these 3 depending on the situation. There are 4 different pull rates to choose from. Of course, you'll want to set this to the highest setting available, since that means your mouse will communicate with your computer as frequently as possible, thereby minimizing latency and maximizing accuracy. Now, it may be possible that your CPU might struggle to keep up with your mouse, which may cause a little bit of stuttering when dragging the mouse around or opening applications. In that case, you'll be forced to turn it down to the next highest setting. So let's talk performance here. This mouse talks the talk, but can it walk the walk? Well, the mouse weighs about 3.3 ounces without the weight and 3.7 ounces with it. On hand, it doesn't necessarily feel like a heavy mouse, so to speak, but you can definitely feel a bit of a slowdown in your movements due to the weight. In game, I've personally found that it slows down my movements, but it doesn't slow down my aiming. It sort of forces me to take a deep breath and twitch less. Smooth and steady aim, but gets the job done. Now the G403 weighs roughly the same at around 3.1 to 3.3 ounces, depending on how much slack you allow with the cable. The mouse's shape is a simple ergonomic shape that is personally really comfortable for me. For the sake of reference, my hand measures 19 centimeters by 9.5 centimeters. I utilize a palm-claw hybrid, where the only part of my palm that is touching the mouse is the upper left quadrant, where the pinky and ring fingers begin. Now, since this is a gaming mouse, it is advertised to perform at a latency of around 1 millisecond, which is already far better than most mice. Thankfully, I can attest to those claims. This mouse, for all intents and purposes, feels incredibly responsive and accurate. You may as well be using a wired mouse. In game, I am able to perform the same tasks without hesitation or doubt that the mouse might fail me. Although mouse acceleration should be turned off, make sure to go into your Windows settings and double check. Otherwise, any mouse you use will vary on how far it travels depending on the speed you move your mouse. The faster you move the mouse, the farther the arrow travels. Now, as far as battery life is concerned, the mouse is rated to last up to 35 hours with default settings, which is what I left it at, and up to 60 hours with the RGB turned off. You can also gain about 2.8 extra hours of battery life if you plug it into charge for 5 minutes. So I went ahead and topped it off the night before testing commenced at around midnight. I began using it at the beginning of my day. The software stated that the mouse was at 98% battery. I tested the mouse at mostly default settings, but I did adjust it to have 3 sensitivity speeds for me to choose from, the 1000 Hz pull rate, as you definitely should, and I believe that is also stock, and kept the RGB set to a fixed color option. By the end of the following Wednesday, as in 7 days from then, the battery had gone down to 55%. When it was down to 15%, I decided to test out that quick charge claim. I plugged the mouse in while being turned off and let it charge for 5 minutes. It went from 15% up to 20%. If we're doing the math, I used this mouse for about 60 hours per week. 2.8 hours out of 60 is approximately 4.66%. Therefore, the 5% battery recovered seems to be a little better than Logitech's claim, assuming battery level depreciates in a linear fashion. So to conclude, this is a pretty great piece of gear for your PC setup, especially if you are a long-time G403 user that is looking to venture into using a wireless mouse. The G703 feels very solid and performs even more solid than that. Currently, the G703 sits at around the $70 to $90 price point, while the G403 Hero sits at around $50 MSRP, but can be found for around $35 to $40 when on discount. I personally think this is a tad too much to ask for the G703. $70 seems solid, but $90 is a bit overkill. Price-wise, it competes with quite a few other mice, but gets outranked especially in terms of build quality and weight. Since it feels exactly like my G403, I'm also a bit skeptical about its long-term durability, but I guess we'll just have to see. Regardless, it is definitely a very viable option, and I would not hesitate in picking it up if you really want that G403 or G703 shape. So this was in fact a quick video. Hopefully I went over everything that you were interested in knowing. I know you'll let me know in the comment section, so definitely do so. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, you know the rest. We do audio here primarily, but we also do gaming things, mice, desktop accessories, that kind of stuff. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.